Welcome back to our podcast, Culture Shock Therapy, where we get into a whole lot of therapy for all of the culture shocks we experienced as third culture kids. We are your hosts. I'm Shauna, and this is my sister Tessa. And if you would like to dive in with us today, stay tuned.
Today we're going to be talking about reverse culture shock, what it's like for third culture kids to move from being an international back to their home country, and what that entails, what that's like, and the different things that we kind of run into. But before we get started, as usual, how are you doing?
I am doing A-okay. Had a really good weekend. Lots of parties and things like that. So actually still recovering. It was rough to get out of bed yesterday, especially. But yeah, can't complain. How are you?
I am doing good. I had 2 very strange, hectic days at work, but I'm off tomorrow. I love Wednesdays because Monday and Tuesday I don't really see Bo very much, and on Wednesdays I just get to cuddle with him all day. So I'm doing good. I am looking forward to going to sleep tonight, though.
I understand you for sure, 100% for real. Yes, we like sleep.
So today we're going to be talking, like we said, about reverse culture shock. And for those of you who don't know or are listening for the first time, Shan and I grew up primarily in Singapore, and before that we spent 8 years traveling around different countries.
8 years? We live in Holland now.
No, I know, but we spent my first 8 years moving around.
Wow. Yeah, my brain just did not register.
No.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about, we lived in Singapore. After that, we moved around for 8 years.
Oh gosh, I wish. No. My first 8 years, Shauna's first 10 years, we spent moving around. After that, we settled in Singapore for 10 years. When I was 18 and Shauna was 20, we moved back to the Netherlands to study. And that was a whole experience in itself, which we're going to get into today. So let's just, jump right in.
Yeah.
What was it like for you coming back to the Netherlands?
I'm going to just be real, complete real. I grossly underestimated that. By a long shot.
Because what were your thoughts going into it before we moved back?
Genuinely, before we moved back, it was kind of like two things. Because one thing was that I was like, oh, I'm bored of living in Singapore. I'm ready for a new adventure. I just want to go out and, move back to Holland because we had our reference of Holland was our vacation time.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's going to be a really good time. And on the other side, it was like, we've moved so many times all our lives, we don't really know any better. So piece of cake. We got that. Yeah. I didn't really think about the fact that all of our previous moves were like usually in the span of like 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And then Singapore was 10 years. So I that just did not register in my mind that could be more impactful. That didn't click in my head. So we were getting ready to leave, and obviously, I was sad to leave because I had a boyfriend there and I had my life there, and I would miss the food, but it was all very like
surreal,
surface level, and yeah, maybe a bit surreal as well because the two colds.
What do you mean you've Dutchified? Oh my gosh.
The future was this like foreign concept to me. Unless it's happening right now, it's probably not there.
Very much living in the here and now and not worrying about tomorrow.
Yeah, and be like, oh, well, who knows what might happen, So I thought, we're just going to move. It'll be easy. We've done this many times before. I'll get started with school, and within a few years, my whole life has been mapped out and I am settled and I am a successful adult. Spoiler alert, that's not what happened. About 2 or 3 months after we moved here, I started to realize that
we're not going back.
Well, we're not going back, but this is no joke. This is no laughing matter. This is serious business, and it kind of pulled the rug out from under me because I thought I was so ready going into this and I had everything planned out exactly how it was going to go. And then I got confronted with that I wasn't allowed to go to school anymore because something with my credentials was translated incorrectly. So I had this like sinking feeling like, oh great, I packed up my whole life to move here for my studies and I can't do my studies, you know?
Yeah.
So that was like hit. Oh,
Is that the neighbors or was that upstairs?
I don't know. If you didn't hear that,
There was
we
just like a really loud
loud
bang.
bang. We shocked for a little bit.
Oh gosh.
Sorry for the interruption.
Um, but you were saying how you packed up your whole life to go to school. And maybe it's interesting to like, enlighten the rest a little bit on how that process went, what happened. Because it's a pretty big
Yeah.
part of what shaped that summer.
Well, yeah, it set up like my whole academic time here and what kind of shape that eventually kind of took. So basically, I had applied to this one uni to do social work, and basically, I really thought everything was settled, ready to go. I had gotten the books, was ready to go to introduction camp, the whole shebang. And then a few weeks before school would start, I got notified we can't accept you anymore because your credentials don't line up with our standards. Whole big thing. We were on the phone. We were with all of these different instances, and we weren't getting anywhere. It was super frustrating. I just saw my whole future just like crumbling in front of me. Eventually, we went to go speak with a lawyer,
Yeah.
and he told us that no, we had a pretty strong case because things like this tend to happen more often with international students, and it's often more from a personal vendetta than actually a funded reason to lower your credentials. But then I had kind of from a place of, well, utter hopelessness, really, applied to the school that you were going to. Because I was like, well, you got in. Let's just see what happens. And then I got invited to go speak to the dean. The same day I went to go speak with a lawyer. So my nerves were up here already. I remember being crouched on grandma's kitchen floor, like, I can't do this. I was in like
There's
this
so much riding on
this
this
total
day.
panic because like this was a Friday and Monday school would start.
Yeah.
So like I was a wreck. And then I went to go sit with him and we chatted and it was a really nice man. And he was like, um, so your sister's gonna start here. I was like, yeah. And he's like, and she went to the same school as you. Mm-hmm, correct. And you guys have exactly the same diploma. Yes.
And if better, you had more advanced classes than I did. So if anything, your diploma should have been given higher credit than mine.
Yeah, that was something that was really with me then. I've let that go now, but I was like, I was standing on it. Like, I did advanced placement classes. Anyways, that's a whole different thing. And he's like, so why exactly were you rejected? I was like, I I really don't know. I don't understand what's going on. He's like, well, if it's up to me, and it was because he was the dean, you start Monday. I was like, well, shit. Okay. So I was elated. Mom and dad were elated because, yeah, we didn't pack up and move all of our things here for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Um and then I got started and we started together. We went to the same school but we were in different classes. And then some things happened which I'm sure you'll get into when we get into your side of the story. And I was put in this group and I was quite shy back then and I spoke a lot of English. I didn't speak Dutch very well and I was,
Yeah.
we'd only lived here for like at the most 3 months. So I was still really adjusting and trying to find my place and trying to be cool, like try not to
Ruffle feathers.
yeah, that
And I think what may have played a big role is you look Dutch, you technically speak Dutch. People
technically.
people couldn't see that you were not Dutch.
Hmm.
So there's this misconception that is there from the get-go.
Yeah.
You come into a group and immediately they already have a different view of you than who you are. And you kind of try to like uphold that view and you try to be Dutch, but you're not, and you have no idea what they're talking about half the time. So you already start with like behind on the rest, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that. So a lot of those things combined kind of caused this friction in me and my group. And looking back, I can understand a little bit more maybe where that came from. Because I also I I I wasn't ready to full on focus on studies. Like looking back, I should have just seen it as a sign to just take the year and
Settle.
settle,
Yeah.
let things get into place. But hindsight is 2020, so it's easier it's easy to say that now, but um there was a lot of friction and I wasn't doing well in school, and I was like, my hands were in my hair, like I don't understand why this is all going wrong. Like I'm trying my best. I maybe really wasn't trying my best. Socially I was trying my best, but like academically,
But I feel like in life you were trying your best. You
yeah.
didn't have space for school.
Yeah, surviving.
Yeah, you were fighting really hard to survive that you couldn't even focus on school, and like you said, grossly underestimated what this would be like. Um, Not understanding what was being taught at school, the
Yeah,
language barrier.
people looking at you funny
Yeah, when
because
you have trouble like trying to think of the Dutch words, or
yeah, or
you
you say like,
yeah, or you give you speak a sentence and it's wrong in the grammatical structure,
yeah.
and people laugh at you, but you don't understand what's wrong, and you feel very vulnerable.
Yeah, and kind of like picked out, like, oh, you're dumb. Kind of like that.
Or you're different.
Yeah. And I remember this one time, I walked into class and the professor was like, "You're like that international kid, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I ask you something?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" He's like, "Do you even have friends?" And I just remember just like looking at him like, probably more than you, my dude, but just like not here. Like
Yeah.
my friends are like all over the world. And if I'm like traveling to I don't know, Australia, I have a place to crash, you know?
Yeah.
Do you? But I was so like dumbfounded, but I was like, what do you mean? Do
It's
I
so
have friends?
short-minded,
Short-sighted.
short-sighted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that was like a funny little side note. But the friction in my group was real, and eventually everything for me came crashing down, and it had to do with the group, it had to do with school, it had to do with personal things, it had to do with a lot of different things. So I decided, you would say on a whim, but for me it wasn't on a whim. I think it was on a whim for everybody else, but it was already in my head for a long time.
There was so much going on in your head that we did not know about.
Yeah.
So a lot of your actions felt very impulsive and erratic,
Yeah.
even though I think 90% we didn't see what was really happening and going on with you.
Yeah. So I was deeply unhappy. So I remember it was end of February, we heard that a friend of ours had passed
Very suddenly as
very
well.
suddenly. And then we would go to the funeral in
March.
March over to Penang to be able to attend. And I feel like a few days before we left, I had thought, I'm withdrawing from school. I can't take it anymore. I literally crashed and burned. So I remember going to my like, you can comparatively call it like a homeroom teacher, and saying, I'm withdrawing. What are the consequences? So she was really patient and really understanding and took the time to like explain
She?
things. Yeah, yeah, she had the short red hair.
Oh yeah, I thought you had the music teacher.
Yeah, but he had left earlier.
Mm.
Um and so I felt really heard like
Yeah.
for the first time. And then I remember going to my studies group and just bursting into tears, like uncontrollably sobbing and saying like, guys, I'm quitting, I'm stopping, I can't do this anymore, I am so unhappy, I feel like I am so far behind you guys, I can't catch up, everything I'm doing is not working, I'm trying so hard to like find my place and figure out who I am and trying to survive and deal with this move and deal with the friend passing, and everything just kind of unraveled. So they weren't surprised because I was showing up less and things like that. And then I called dad. Mind you, you remember, mom and dad had put in so much time and effort to get me into school. That whole
Yeah.
summer break was dedicated to letting me go to school. And not once did I mention to them that I was this
Unhappy.
unhappy.
I mean,
So,
there were signs.
Yeah, but we weren't in the best place either. So
No. But I remember in December we went to Singapore, and our aunt and mom and I spent 4 hours dematting your hair.
yeah, that
I
was
mean,
really
that's a
bad.
pretty big sign of, something's not going good.
Personal neglect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I never really spoke to mom and dad about it. I don't know if they, saw that or knew something was going on with you. And like you said, we weren't on good
Well,
terms, so I had no
yeah.
idea what your relationship with mom and
It
dad.
was more like, oh, you don't take care of yourself properly. Oh, you just watch YouTube films like all day and that's all you do. Which sounds like I'm holding a grudge. I'm really not. It's just what the situation was like at that time.
Yeah,
Because
not a lot of understanding from both parties to each
yeah,
other.
we weren't on the best of terms. And I also refused to share anything. And if you guys asked me something, I was like, oh, leave me alone. You don't know me.
I remember this one time in the period that we still weren't doing well. We were walking, and I think I asked you, "Why don't you talk to me?" And then you said, "Because you always talk. You don't let me talk." And I said, "But whenever I
Really?
ask you something, you don't talk." And you're like, "Oh shit."
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Like you just wouldn't talk.
I think also because I remember you guys badgering me a lot about opening up and being so shut off. And I genuinely, at that time, didn't see that. I was like, what are you guys going on about? Like, if I have something to say, I'll say it. But I was just so tuned out from everything. Pure survival mode, to be honest.
It kind of relates back to episode 2, how when right before you were pulled out of school, you know, you said you should have asked for help, but you were in so deep, you
Mm,
created your whole own world. And I feel like that actually happened again here. You just kind of
yeah.
like, completely retreated into yourself and into your boyfriend at the time. He seemed to be your hold.
I felt like, and that was such a dramatic teenage perspective. He's the only one that understood me,
But I think
which,
for a while that may have been the case because he was the only one you opened up to.
yeah.
And he really took the time and space to understand you, be there for you, despite the cultural differences and that you had a very different background that he did. He wasn't
I felt
judgy.
seen and I
Yeah,
felt heard. And honestly, moving to Holland, I was like, because we're going to be here forever, right? So I had this whole new, completely unhealthy idea about attachment. So that means I will now clamp onto you completely. And I think, I mean, looking back, obviously that was not healthy behavior, but I didn't know how else to attach to people,
yeah,
which is something we've been learning. But uh, I saw him as my only safe person,
yeah.
and I think I didn't do you, mom and dad, any favors in that sense because I shut you guys out like a lot. But I saw you guys as like, well, at that time I still thought you had your own little world. And mom and dad, we weren't doing great, and there was a lot of miscommunication, and I was just needing to break out of my bubble.
Yeah.
So it was just like this combination of circumstances that kind of led to this unhealthy behavior. But yeah, so I called dad. I was like, please don't be mad at me. This was also a few days before we went to the funeral. Please don't be mad at me. I just withdrew myself from school. And all he said was, we'll talk about it when you get here.
But in what way? Because like that can either make your stomach drop or it can be a sigh of relief.
Both. Both. Because on the one hand, I was like, okay, shit, because.
Am I in trouble?
Yeah, but on the other hand, he didn't start yelling or anything, or
He wasn't
wasn't
mad.
wasn't being angry towards me. He just said, we'll talk about it when you get here.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, we're gonna see. But I just felt this huge thing of relief, like, okay, I can maybe focus on myself now. I can breathe.
Yeah.
Um,
Everybody that needs to know
yeah,
knows.
yeah. And then we got to Penang, and then we talked, and he's like, yeah, but if you go this route, I also took a different route, and it's really no problem. And if you need time to settle, it's really understandable. So I felt really seen and heard and understood in that moment.
Did you expect that reaction, also taking into account that your relationship wasn't very good with mom and dad at that moment?
No,
And
I didn't. I really didn't. Also because I put in so much effort.
yeah,
Um, and because like I said, I didn't say anything. I didn't let them in on what I was going through or feeling. And that it came as such like a bomb. And that's when I learned from dad that he also didn't really take the expected academic route.
Yeah.
And that's where his understanding came from. Because he's like, but I went through this too. So I get why you might be overwhelmed. And I remember because in Holland, you have different levels of uni. So you have MBO, HBO, and Universiteit, sorry. And I was already going into HBO ashamed that I wasn't doing university. But here it works differently. It's not like in Singapore.
It's not better or worse.
It's just different.
More hands-on or more theoretical, depending on how your brain works.
Depending also on what field you want to get into.
Yeah.
And
you're not going to go to uni to be a plumber.
Exactly. So I was going to go to MBO, which is a step lower between quotation marks. And I was so worried that I would be judged for the fact that I wasn't doing at least HBO when I should have been in university.
Yeah.
So that acceptance for that and the understanding and dad saying, because I always thought like, well, I still think, dad's really smart. And he told me that he also went to like an MBO first before he did the higher levels.
Yeah.
And that just gave me such a comforting feeling like, oh, it doesn't mean like I'm a failure or that I'm dumb or, all of those things. So that's when I think the healing process kind of started, because in the months following that, I spent 5 months just
burnt out,
literally just recuperating.
Yeah.
Like sleeping hours, insane, trying to regather myself, and get ready to start this new school process. And when I started at the new school, I wasn't there yet, but I was feeling more like myself again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really long story for my reverse culture shock. How was it for you?
Well, wait to just like 180.
Yeah, we're shifting the ball over here.
I know we talk about this more often now that we're doing the podcast, but I genuinely sometimes forget and don't realize in how extensively different our experiences are.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I couldn't see through my own pain to see yours.
Yeah, but you can't blame yourself because you were going through it as well.
Well, yeah.
We didn't have the space for each other's pain. And that's not really anyone's fault because we did the best we could with the information we had.
Yeah, it's like I don't blame myself now, but it's still kind of shocking, to hear the depth of what you went through.
Yeah.
Because I mean, factually, I know what happened, but
emotionally, it was yeah.
So I had a completely different experience. Like you can't even compare the two, I think.
That's not the point. We're not here to compare. We're here to share, not compare.
Preach. I was, what do you call it? I felt like I was walking to the gallows leading up to moving to the Netherlands.
Ooh, yeah.
Like you're waiting for the sword to drop.
Yeah.
And I completely overstimulated myself those last few weeks because I thought I'm still here right now. I need to say goodbye to everyone. And I'm not going to do that with a little notes or a 5-minute hug or whatever. We just moved the table. Sorry. I would wake up at like 6 a.m. to hang out with people. And then I go to the next meeting, go to the next meeting, go to the next meeting. And I come home at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I was so dead at the end of those weeks, but I had no regrets because I really poured my heart and soul into everybody that I loved. And going to the Netherlands, I mean, I hated that like moments of the flight because Mom and I went earlier than you and Dad.
By like a few 2
days.
or 3 days.
Yeah. And I had to say goodbye to my then boyfriend. And I had this weird feeling like I'm not going to see you again. So that was just very heavy. And I just felt sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried the whole flight and coming here those first few days, because usually, we would hang out and you were the person I would talk to about shit. I'm sorry, about stuff. But you weren't there either. It was just me and Mom. And of course, me and Mom chatted a lot, but I missed having you there.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is you come here and your family's also excited to see you. And I was not excited because I was hurting.
Yeah.
There's just this weird disconnect, but also this pressure of, hey, but I need to be happy and excited and whatever.
Yeah, because then otherwise you might disappoint the people who are excited to see you.
Exactly. I wasn't not
Yeah.
excited to see them. I just had more on my mind than that. And those, oh man, we left Singapore in June and school only started the first week of September. Those weeks took so long.
Yeah, that was a weird time.
It was like you're living in some weird time warp because the first 2 weeks we were super busy. It was only 2 weeks that Dad was there. You know, we were getting the house set up, going to IKEA, buying all our furniture.
We landed and we went straight to the IKEA and to the
exactly,
all these
and the
stores.
Media Markts. You know, we bought a washing machine, a vacuum, we got laptops. My phone broke, so we had to get a new one. So it was just still this whirlwind happening, and then we settled in the house. Dad went back to Singapore because he had to work, and it was you, me, and Mom. And we were so bored because we had no friends. We had our bikes for transportation, but you know,
that was it.
Yeah, and that like loses interest pretty quickly. And I remember like one day the doorbell rang, and there were these two people at the door that said, "Hey, you're in our system as people who don't have jobs or school, so we're here to give you something to do." And we were both like, "What the hell? Who are you? Get out of here! What are you?" Bemoeien?
Butting your head into it.
Yeah, like,
it's none of your business.
Yeah, and we said like, you know, we're gonna go to school in September. We're on summer holiday.
Yeah,
F off, basically, you know. And it was just this really weird time. And then school started, and I mean, I explained it in episode 3, so I won't get all too much into it. But you know, my relationship ended, and we had to go to intro camp, and I hated that. But thankfully, I had a very different experience than you did, because there was this group of girls who I didn't know. Sorry, the Pitter Patter is my doggo, who's coming to say hi.
She has a bit of FOMO, wants to join us.
There's this group of girls who didn't know me, and yet they completely surrounded me and acted like they were my best friends, and they had known me for years. So despite being so low, they really carried me from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my deepest depression lasted until like October, November. But despite that, I still had them, and that really helped me get through it.
It's exactly what you needed at that time.
Yeah. And then around November, I started to feel better. I started also having space to form those relationships with them. Because first they were giving me a lot, but I had nothing to give back to them because I just didn't have the space. And once I started healing, I could actually invest in it. And these girls are still like, I mean, I see them maybe once or twice a year, but when we see each other, it's just really fun again. And then we went back to Singapore. And that felt like coming up for air. My goodness. And what helped is another friend from Singapore moved to the Netherlands at the same time and moved to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I would hang out with her like every week. And she felt like home. She's also the friend that I talked about in episode 3 who kind of came when I was feeling low as well. And that helped me to heal a lot more and settle. And knowing that every 6 months I'd be going back to Singapore just gave me so much room to breathe.
Yeah. It made it to like be able to
get
to the next point. Yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise it felt endless, and that could like literally knock the air out of you, you know? Because I didn't feel at home in the Netherlands. I just felt like I had to be here because I had to, and there was no way out. But going back to Singapore gave me so much more room to breathe and just be again. So I was refreshed coming back the new year. And then I started feeling like myself again, and I started healing and being better. And then our friend died. Yeah. And that just like pulled the rug out from under me. And again, these girls proved so much how they were there for me, and they carried me through. So despite having had really dark, hard moments, I still had the right support group around me. Yeah. I kept in a lot of contact with my friends from Singapore. I think what was hard is I'm like the Dutchest person you'll meet in how I look. You know, I have blonde hair, pale skin, blue, and a green eye. But you know,
that's the only anomaly here. Other than that, you look 100% Dutch.
But my Dutch was so bad. And like we said earlier, the whole thing that people expect you to be Dutch and to know. I sometimes wish that I had a different ethnicity. So people could see that I'm different and wouldn't just assume that I'm like them. So I don't always have to feel like I'm over-explaining. Because it also felt like I was drawing attention to myself when I didn't mean to. Yeah. But, you know, trying to be interesting. Like, oh, hey, I grew up, you know, abroad. Yeah. I'm not from here. speaking a lot of English. It wasn't to act cool. It's because I genuinely didn't know how to communicate in Dutch. Um, Writing my essays, I look back now at like the spelling, it was terrible. But I also started getting behind on school because the language barrier was just too big. I genuinely didn't understand some of the things they were saying, or just um, the assignments you would get.
Yeah.
You think you understand it, but you don't because of that language barrier. And I remember you had to get 60 credits by the end of your first year, and you could go to year 2 with 50. But below that, you either had to repeat or you got kicked out.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to repeat, you had to go to the exam commission. Is that what it's called?
Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had to like tell them why you wanted to repeat and whatever. And I had, I think, 42 points, which for me was like huge because of how deeply I had gotten.
I had 5, so way to go.
I was really proud of that. And I remember my so-called mentor, he sat me down after I had done a test, because the tests were verbal sometimes, and he said, "You failed this one, but you know what, I think there's something genuinely wrong with you psychologically, and if I was your father, I would say go work at the baker, because you're not going to accomplish anything else in life."
I still can't believe.
And I got so angry at that, because we were in...
It is awakening a new rage again.
Yeah, me too. Like, I feel it building up in me, because first of all, we're in a Christian school. Just the way he spoke to me is not something that belongs in that identity.
Well, also just like in general as an educator.
Oh yeah, that's point
speaking
two.
to someone who has had a really rough year and has for a
Who's
very
still
large
standing.
part regathered herself and is standing there with 42 credits,
working so hard to try to catch up.
Yeah. And just be like, nah, there's just something wrong with you. Go F yourself.
And this guy offered me zero support and no help. So it's not like, he was trying to help me and just was at a loss. No, he did nothing to help me. And every single time I had an exam, he would fail me and berate me on how dumb I was. And that just shook me.
Filed some serious complaints.
I know.
Because that is unethical in so many ways.
Luckily, he retired. And I genuinely threw a mini party for myself when he retired, because...
he couldn't ruin anybody else's life.
Exactly. This was so detrimental what he did. He would berate me any chance that he got. So eventually this guy went to the exam commission.
Yeah.
And said to them, like, hey, by the way, Tessa wants to quit, so you guys can just go ahead and sign her out. And I got an email from the exam commission saying, like, hey, you want to leave school? Why haven't you yet? And I thought, what the hell?
What the helly? Yeah.
What the hell? That's not, what I want at all. All of this has happened to me. I'm trying to fight. I have a few more months left. I'm going to keep fighting. They're like, oh, yeah, no, okay, of course, keep going. And if you need us, call us.
Yeah.
So I ended the year with 47.5 points.
Good for you.
Which I found pretty impressive, seeing that 50 was like the minimum. And I called up the exam commission, like, hey, I didn't get my points, but I immigrated to a new country. My relationship ended on the first day of school, and a friend of mine died all within 7 months. I'm trying my best here. Here's a plan on how I want to catch up. Give me another chance. And they were just like, holy crap, wow. Of course, you get another chance. Here you go. So I was really thankful that they gave me that other chance, because if it was up to this one mentor, I wouldn't have gotten that.
You'd be long gone.
Yeah. And I had a backup plan, but I remember just being so angry that I had to fight just my basic right of being in that school, especially by somebody who did no effort to understand me.
Yeah, and who had all kinds of judgments and just decided that without consulting with you,
that I wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
How rude. Yeah, but he literally told me I'm not worth it. And I'm sorry, guys, but this is a social work university college.
Yeah, coming from a former educator, you just can't say that shit.
No, it's so messed up, and it made me so angry that I actually planned, once I got my diploma, to send him an email with a middle finger, not thanks to you. Decided against it later, but that at that moment was my what I was holding on to.
Makes me think about a How I Met Your Mother episode.
What?
Exactly something like this, and then it's all about how somebody's in your pit. You obsess over them, they're in your pit. It's all about their approval, and at the end of the day, it just means that you're in your own pit and you have to get yourself out, because they're not going to remember the effect they had on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I let that go eventually. And what also really nagged me was there's this like other mentor that was like his duo. And she had also grown up abroad in one country and moved back when she was a teenager. And she was just constantly projecting all of her experiences onto me.
Oh, yeah.
And that bothered me so much because she would push me into a corner and I'd just be like, but this isn't what I'm experiencing, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but this is what you are. And don't worry, like talking as if she knew what I was going to run into, like she knew better than I did.
Yeah, it's giving the whole, yeah, but you had a chauffeur because my dentist's dog's friend's cousin's teacher
Lived
had a
like that.
chauffeur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it bothered me because I was thinking, you don't know me. So stop acting like you know what I'm going to go through, but I'm just not quite there yet, you know?
Yeah.
So I found the reverse culture shock of moving back here wild because on the one hand, I had never been so depressed. On the other hand, I met people that showed me such genuine and unconditional love and support. And I had to fight really hard, you know, with that mentor and I feel like I had to fight to become me again because the rug was pulled out so many times. And I had a lot of like,
like that you're confronted with yourself, maybe?
yeah, but also a lot of things pushing against me that I had to fight through. Like you're trying to run through a current.
Yeah, you're basically living in an obstacle course.
Yeah. And I totally didn't expect it to be smooth sailing, but I didn't expect it to be this either. And I would do it all over again because I
would not. But respect, kudos to you.
I mean, if I don't have to, I really wouldn't want to, but just seeing how much I learned in that period and
yeah, how it shaped you.
Yeah, and feeling that genuine low helped me feel so much like, you know, if it doesn't rain, you don't appreciate the sunshine. I really hate dark periods, but it really does make you happier in the end. That sounds really weird, but you get what I mean. And that was just the beginning because, you know, that first year is primarily getting used to this new country and trying to figure out who you are. But for today, we're only going to focus on that first year because afterwards, you know, you run into these are all the short-term things you run into, and we'll get into the long-term things another time.
And I feel like the most like acute things happened in our first year.
Yeah.
Like we were confronted with things the most. The emotions were the lowest. Yeah, it was just the most intense. But it was definitely not finished after our first year. I think after that we just started to kind of get settled a little bit.
Of it. You caught the wave and
immigrating more or being more immersed in the culture and getting to know our space and place.
Yeah.
But I mean, to this day, we still sometimes have things that we're like, oh, you know, what the heck? Yeah. So I don't think it ever really ends, but I guess looking back, unlike you, I would not do it again. Maybe like looking from a distance, I would look at it again, but I feel like I wouldn't want to live through that anymore because I genuinely don't recognize myself from that year.
Yeah.
But it was, in Dutch you have a saying, it's called the vuurdoop.
Refined by fire.
Refined by fire. I feel like is what?
Very accurate depiction.
Because we went through the fire and it was hot.
Yeah. And I also remember we have some third culture kid friends who are like 8 or 10 years older than we are, and they had gone through all of this already. And I remember them saying before we moved, like, prepare yourself because everybody there has their life.
Yeah.
They're not waiting for you. They're not standing there with open arms like international schools are. You're really going to have to fight to settle. And that scared me a lot, but I also couldn't quite wrap my head around it until we went through it.
Yeah.
But it helped so much to have them close by because we met up with them a lot that first year. And just being able to like, oh, hey, you went through this too. How did you deal with it? When did it end? Getting to, what do you call it? Like relativate it.
Just get some perspective from someone who's been in your shoes.
Knowing this is not permanent.
Yeah.
It's just something we have to go through.
Yeah.
And that also makes me really interested in other third culture kid stories about moving back home. We're enjoying a lot of people are messaging us their responses to the podcast, and we absolutely love it. And I'm surprised like when we share hard things, people will message me that they can relate, and I'm hurt that they can relate, and at the same time I'm happy they can relate because it's a connection point, you know.
Yeah, I think it's made I don't know how you feel about that, but because I was genuinely quite nervous and scared to air the episode where I really get into some things in my past and
Yeah,
being so vulnerable. And seeing, even if it's just like a few people be like, oh, thank you
we
so much for sharing. I
yeah,
really relate to that. I've had this and that experience. It genuinely does make that worth it, and it kind of chips away at the fear of, oh my, what would people think of me, or
it's giving a good comeback to be vulnerable.
yeah,
Like we're not being laughed at or whatever. People seem to genuinely appreciate the vulnerability we have,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that makes it easier to be vulnerable because we know it's a safe space.
yeah.
Um, so do please keep sharing. We really enjoy getting reactions from people and appreciate very much once again the support, people that are viewing and liking and sharing and commenting and messaging everything. Thank you so much. It's making this so much more fun than it already was, and
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's a good spot to round it off.
Do you want to get into
Our next
our
episode.
next episode and what's going to be special about it?
Well, next week, we're going to be having one of my best friends, Caro, join us. He is a fellow third culture kid who grew up in Nigeria and Israel. So we're really looking forward to having him here and seeing what his experience was like, where we share, where we have the same, where we have similarities and what the differences were. He's a really fun guy, so I'm looking forward to introducing him to you guys.
Yeah. So stay tuned next week if you want to be a part of that and get some more perspectives and just enjoy a really fun, lighthearted, and potentially chaotic conversation, which is not unusual for culture shock therapy.
No, he's pretty chaotic too. So I feel like this is going to be a very interesting mix. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you very much for all your support.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.